Hello and welcome to Sarasota County Schools. My name is Harayda. I'm the Employee Relations and Equity Administrator here at the district. I'm housed out of the Human Resources Department. My job is employee relations. I deal with discipline. I assist our cost center heads and making sure that we follow the guidelines that are in our collective bargaining agreement, as well as equity and any violations of that. So hopefully after today, you will hopefully never see me again unless you're just saying hi, because you'll be professional and we won't violate any of our policies on discrimination or violate our collective bargaining agreement. So we want to start with talking about the difference between diversity and inclusivity. Diversity encompasses all the ways that human beings are both similar and different. It involves variations in factors we control, as well as those over which we have no control. Inclusivity implies a comprehensive openness, an environment that welcomes any person, regardless of race, age, gender, sexual orientation, religion, ethnicity, or physical ability. A lot of times what I deal with whenever we're looking at is if it's a violation of our equity policy, a lot of times it really boils down to respect versus disrespect. And when we're talking about respect versus disrespect, it doesn't mean that you have to accept all that you believe or all that you represent, but you do have to respect each other as human beings. In the work environment, it is very, very important that we respect each other. We all come here to receive a paycheck. We all come here to do a job. So in the workplace, we all should be respectful to each other. You've heard people talk about our numbers here at Sarasota County Schools. So we have 42,000 students. We have over 5,000 board-appointed staff, and we have over 1,000 substitutes. So that's about 48,000 people that are different than you, that have different beliefs, different religions, but we always need to make sure that we are respectful to all of those people. When we look at discrimination and prejudice, we obviously have visible factors that can be seen. Race, ethnicity, gender, and physical disabilities, as well as others. Then we also have invisible factors, religion, sexual orientation. Here in Sarasota County Schools, we do include sexual orientation in our discrimination policy, which is not required, however, it is very important to us. Harassment can include any slurs, innuendos, or other verbal or physical conduct reflecting on an individual's race, color, religion, sex, national origin, age, disability, marital status, or sexual orientation, which has the purpose or effect of creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive educational or work environment. Harassment also has the purpose or effect of unreasonably interfering with the individual's school performance or participation, or otherwise adversely affecting an individual's education opportunities. Talk about sexual harassment. What is sexual harassment? Sexual harassment can be unwelcomed or unwanted advances or comments. Can be verbal, sexual jokes, innuendos, remembering that our jokes sometimes can be offensive. Physical, inappropriate touching, as I've mentioned before, and other things such as pictures, emails, etc. It is important to remember that when sending an email here at Sarasota County Schools, that it is public record and can be requested by the public. There are two legally recognized types of sexual harassment. There's what's called quid pro quo. A person in a position of power, either perceived or real, uses the position to gain sexual favors. This is the only absolute in the law. This type of behavior is always actionable. Here at Sarasota County Schools, we utilize a collective bargaining agreement for interviewing, which helps us to ensure that incidents of quid pro quo cannot occur because we put different people on the bargaining agreement, not just a supervisor. The other part of sexual harassment can be hostile environment. When one or more individuals create an environment so offensive that it affects the student's or staff's ability to learn and general well-being, or the employee's ability to perform his or her job. This type of harassment can occur anywhere. Usually it occurs in less structured areas such as hallways, cafeterias, in the schoolyard, and off campus. Conditions of harassment. People used to think that you had to say no or stop or that's offensive before it constituted harassment. That is not the case. Conditions of harassment exist if you are feeling offended. If anyone regards the behavior or discussion as offensive, it can be a condition of harassment. if even one person considers the behavior offensive. Opinions vary between sexes, in case you didn't know that. Intent carries little or no weight. So your intention on the statement that you did or the touching that you did does not carry weight when we're looking into a harassment case. Failure to cease objectionable behavior can be sexual harassment. Some of the legal issues that we deal with when we're looking at discrimination. Discrimination is illegal when it affects a person's job or their ability to get a job, a promotion, or salary and benefits. So some of the more popular ones that we look into that I have to deal with here at Sarasota County Schools are age discrimination, federal violations under the Civil Rights Act, which are covered within our discrimination clause, sexual harassment, which I've spoken about already, and the big one that we deal with a lot with the number of people that we have here at Sarasota County Schools is the Americans with Disabilities Act and our ability to make reasonable accommodations for disabilities. So our policy is located on the Human Resources website under Equity. The two policies mirror each other for the most part, so I'm going to go over the student policy. Any complaints that are filed, they are filed with the Equity Coordinator. The Equity Coordinator then reviews the complaint to ensure that it meets the requirements under our policy. If there are any questions, they can ask the complainant to clarify. Once they determine that there could possibly be a violation, we assign that complaint to the cost center head, which would, in most cases, would be the school if it's about a student. The cost center head would conduct an investigation. They would conduct interviews, any necessary review of paperwork, any necessary review of cameras. They then would make a determination on if there was any discrimination on their part that they felt. They would give me the copy of the report. From there, if the complainant does not feel that they agree with the principal's recommendations, they have the right to an appeal. At that point, I would form a committee of an SDA, which is a school district administrator, a SBA member, which is a school-based administrator, as well as an executive director, who the three of them would review the original report and complaint. They would also interview any additional people that they would like to interview, and then they would make a determination on whether there was discrimination that occurred based on their findings and their recommendations. If the complainant still did not agree with the findings and recommendations, the last step of our procedure allows for them to file a complaint with me, the Equity Coordinator. I would at that point review all the documents that have already been reviewed and written. I will interview the complainant, find out really why they don't agree with the other two steps of the procedure and what more I can do. I would then conduct any additional interviews that needed to be done, review any other documents that needed to be reviewed, and then I would render a decision. Based on our policy, the decision that I render, I am considered the superintendent's designee, so that would be the final steps of the procedure for students as outlined in our policy. Our staff and applicant complaint policy, which is also located on the Human Resources website, is a little different than our students' policy. There will be two steps that will be followed. The first step will be there will be a member of the SDA, School District Administrators Group, that will be designated, as well as one from the SBA, School-Based Administrators, that will be delegated, and an executive director that will form a team to conduct the initial investigation. One caveat to this is that those members will have already been trained in order to conduct investigations thoroughly into the discrimination claim. They will then conduct the investigation, review any documents that need to be reviewed. They would also review any tapes, videotapes that may be had, and do any interviews that needed to be done. They will then make a recommendation. At that point, if the complainant does not agree with the recommendation, they do have the right to an appeal. Step 2 of our policy is that I will then look into the situation. I will interview the complainant, conduct any further interviews that need to be conducted, as well as review any additional materials. And then I will make a decision based on that on whether discrimination occurred. As the superintendent's designee, that is the final step in our current policy for discrimination. In addition to filing any complaints with the school district, an employee or applicant does have the right to file with us, with the Office of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, with just EEOC or with us. And they do not have an obligation to let us know that they filed with EEOC. With students, the same procedures could happen. They can file with us, or they have to file with the Office of Civil Rights. So they can file with the Office of Civil Rights, us, both, and they do not have an obligation to tell us that they have filed with the Office of Civil Rights. I'm hopefully just giving you a refresher, and that we are all aware that being respectful in the workplace to our students, to our peers, and to applicants is very, very important. And I will tell you that Sarasota County Schools takes any type of discrimination very seriously. So as I said in the beginning, welcome to Sarasota County Schools. And remember, hopefully from now on, the only time that you will see me is to say hello in the hallway, and not that you've had any problems with our policies. Thank you.